OCD. What do you think it is? In this programme we explore both serious and innocent sides of OCD. We visit Bristol in the town centre to gain a public opinion on the matter.
It's about compulsive disorder. I can't remember what the O stands for, so yeah, obsessives, yeah. I'm very funny about things being in rows. Got 5 children, all their shoes have to be lined up in the hall. I don't do things like turn light switches on and off and things like that. I would function, but I wouldn't deal with it for long. I'd have to correct it pretty quick.
OCD isn't as innocent as it seems. We visit Ross in his home, who has been diagnosed with overlapping OCD. Aged 17, Ross is currently studying for his A-levels, but finding it difficult to cope.
I have overlapping OCD. It's where I'm obsessed with hygiene, keeping everything clean and symmetry, so everything has to be straight. I've actually started getting to college a lot later. I'm finding it more difficult to pick out clothes in the morning as to all be parallel to each other, and if I see a crease in my drawer, then I have to take out all my clothes and just refold everything, so everything is perfect really, so I don't get tense. I never used to play around with food, always wanted it nice and tidy, and I was always the last one to finish, and never actually had time to play with any of my friends. I also remember in lessons always making excuses to get out and wash my hands.
How are you coping with this?
Not very well. I've tried multiple visits to the therapist, and they've recommended a drug called clomipramine. This makes me feel anxious though, because there are side effects such as diarrhea, which I'm not overly thrilled with. I feel like my condition's getting worse because every day my plumbing went in my house, so my tap water went, and as a result I started cleaning my hands with a window cleaner.
Ritalin is a clinically used drug which also has similar side effects to clomipramine. Ritalin is usually offered to autistic patients, but the substance has been known to be given to OCD sufferers. Joe Parker, like Ross, has been prescribed medication for his disorder.
I've got Asperger's syndrome, which is on the autistic spectrum, and I believe, from what I've been told, that OCD is also on the autistic spectrum.
When were you diagnosed with that?
3 years ago. I was diagnosed late. They used to prescribe Ritalin for it, but obviously that's been proven more to help with things like ADD or ADHD. As far as I'm aware, Ritalin is literally just a tablet amphetamine. Just obviously I've went my whole childhood not knowing that I suffered with it, so I just thought it was my own fault, and I learned to cope with it in my own ways.
Increase in depression is natural with patients who are taking Ritalin and clomipramine to aid their mental health. Patients can be problematic without professional therapy or counselling. We travel to Hannam Surgery to speak to Dr. Laura Sharp to get an in-depth observation. She explains how the disorder affects the brain and shapes particular behaviours associated with OCD.
We're looking at aspects of the brain involved in OCD. According to brain scanning, what they've suggested is that there is something called the worry circuit inside an OCD brain, which is normal parts of the brain involved in anxiety and in also monitoring your responsibilities and monitoring your environment, become overactive. And we're looking at aspects of the brain, including your frontal cortex, which is this bit here, and the thalamus, which is deep inside the brain, but it's involved in the limbic system, which is your emotional core of your brain. Psychiatric drugs like Ritalin, which might be prescribed to manage hyperactive behaviours, are generally not considered to be very good for young people in particular. And they actually make people more hyperactive, which balances out their natural hyperactivity somehow and seems to reduce it, but it leads to long-term dysfunctions, which means that people who've taken drugs like Ritalin when they're young can't stop when they're older.